and welcome everyone to another episode of Fangirlz Assemble. I'm Fariha, and joining me all the way from Kentucky is Kristan and Maddie. For a second there, I forgot you guys' name.
Hey, that happens.
Don't do that.
I'm having a lot of brain farts.
It's down in our little boxes if you forget.
Oh, that's true though. That's also true. But so before we get going, we have to get a shout out to our wonderful sponsor. Who are they?
InStockTrades.com.
Ooh! And what do you find there?
You can get every book we're going to talk about today, probably, like Captain Marvel and Mr. Miracle, and a lot of other things. And if you order over $50,
and a lot of other M books,
free shipping, guys. What's coming out Tuesday? Do we know? I didn't even look.
Oh man,
anything good?
You know what? We need to be more on top of this. Let me pull it up. Luckily, the website's so easy to use
and so fast.
I can see. Also, can we just talk about what's out right now?
Yeah,
Mr. and Mrs. X, which I'm going to pick up.
And it's 50% off right now until Tuesday.
Ooh. Oh, man.
Well, one of the books that you can pick up, which will actually go on sale for 50% off starting Tuesday at 3 p.m. EST, Dr. Afra, the first hardcover.
Yeah.
So this will be our pick of the month for March, and this is I've heard such good things about it. It's one of the characters that was created in Karen Gillan's Darth Vader run. I don't think she's in the movies yet, is she?
I don't think so.
Oh yeah, because I think she's more in the prequel, and so this is the super nice looking hardcover, and it's has first 8 issues plus 2 from the Star Wars. And 1 annual looks like. But anyway, so this will be available for 50% off this next week, starting Tuesday. So you can
get
it.
And I'm really excited because I've said before in the show, but I'm very much not into Star Wars. I've been making up for that in the past years, like catching up on movies. Because before, like I don't even know how to say this. Before episode 7. I had not seen the original movies, and I still haven't. I've only seen one of the original movies.
Oh, Maddie. See, I'm the one in the show with an actual Star Wars
shit 1 through 4, and then 6 and 7, and then Rogue One. It's a very big embarrassment to my nerd career, honestly.
Go back in time.
Well, no, don't be embarrassed.
Just watch them.
Yeah, only movie the first Star Wars movie I've seen is Rogue One, and then I watched 4, 5, 6, and that's it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't watched any of the other ones. So you're good. You're okay. So you'd be okay. So Rogue One was like the first one, and I loved it. But I could not. Oh my god, 4, 5, and 6, so bad. Oh god, so boring. They were so boring.
Kristan's face.
Well, I'm like 4, 5, and 6. Do you know which ones those are? Because
here's the thing, though.
Look, no. I was a child watching my dad's recorded VHS copies of the original trilogy.
But I'm gonna say though, it's actually, if I saw it as a child,
it's different. Yeah,
I will have the same exact
feelings.
But by then, I have seen so many other better VFX. Like, to me, I'm like, people like this? I knew every twist coming. And also, because that's the power of Star Wars, though, because they're so embedded in our cultures and stuff. You know the story. You've never seen it, but you know the story.
You know everything. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know everything. So that kind of takes it away a little bit. But my cousin, who is like now 8, when he saw Star Wars at the age of 5, he saw the first one. He loves Star Wars. Like he thinks that's the best thing ever because you haven't seen anything else. So that's one of the things, though. Like, if you have seen it as an adult, when a lot of other things, and if you do not have appreciation for anything post 90s like me, I don't give a shit about any of those. It's not gonna jive well.
I'm pumped to get into this. Like, I'm really excited to read this, and then I've been waiting for something to be the linchpin that really gets me into things. And I walk past this cover. I walk past Dr. Aphra all the time, and I look at it, I'm like, man, I don't even know what it's about. And I'm just like, that looks really good. So I'm really excited to finally read it.
And, like, speaking of like another linchpin one, Lee Kirk actually talked to us about this. Like Mark Waid's Princess Leia run. And
Chewbacca's good too.
Yeah, so I actually found this, like, this one includes all 3 of their short miniseries together. And I actually got it from so this is a $50, but I got it from the LSC today for like 10.
Nice.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to pick this up as well. So this is actually going to be my other thing, about getting into it. And I was thinking of, like, once I read this, to go back, watch like 7, 8, and 9. Is 9 out?
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Is 9 out? No.
No.
Oh, okay. So 7, 8 then. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so
numbers are hard.
We got completely sidetracked. One thing we do have to mention that is free shipping about $50 when you buy it.
I said that.
Oh, you did? Oh, yeah. Thank you.
That's okay.
All right. So today we're going to talk about not Star Wars. That will be for another day. We're going to be actually talking about Captain Marvel and Mr. Miracle, the 2 books that we have recently read. And we wanted to, like, and of course, Captain Marvel, the movie's coming out next Friday, and we're so excited about this. Like, we all got our tickets and everything. So we thought that it would be a best time to start discussing this. So who's going to go first?
How about we talk about Mr. Miracle first, because I'm dying to talk about it.
Okay,
starting with the deep.
Like, okay.
I just want to jump into this because, like, this is my first time reading anything with old gods. I haven't read any of this. I recognize who they are, and I've seen them in, things like Justice League Action. I've seen Big Barda in stuff like DC Superhero Girls, and and in, like, the DC deck building game. But I haven't read anything because for most of my comic reading experience, which has been a lot of DC, these characters don't even come into the equation for anything I've read at all. And I've read a lot of DC so far. They don't even show up. But everyone was talking about this. I was like, well, I'm going to check it out. Despite, I can't even see the chat right now, but I'm assuming at some point there's going to be someone that's like, but Maddie, don't you hate Tom King?
I was going to ask you.
I'm upset with him, of course. He's a very talented writer he's a talented writer most of the time. He's made some decisions I don't like. And Heroes in Crisis is bad. It's bad. I'm telling you all at home, it's bad. But anyways, this was amazing. I mean, blown away. And so I had this weird, like, this kind of, like, toxic relationship with Tom King, where he does these awful things, but then he gives me this. It's like, oh, hey, baby, don't go. Have some Mr. Miracle. And I'm like, what the fuck, Tom King? This is bullshit. But, man, this was such a deep read. I am in love with Scott Free. I am even more in love with his beautiful wife. It was the perfect amount of, like, goofy and serious. And it was such a good balance that everything felt natural and normal, right? So all these crazy big things are happening, and yet it feels like a regular, normal life thing the whole time. And the art, oh my God. The art was amazing. This guy, amazing.
Mitch
what did you guys think? This is like a knockout 10 out of 10 book to me. I don't know what you guys think, but I mean, share. What do you think?
Can I say one thing, which is the first thing I noticed within issue 1?
Absolutely.
I really wish DC, and some people are going to fight me on this because a lot of people make fun of this, would have put a trigger warning at the beginning.
That's a fair point.
I think it was really necessary. I personally didn't need it, but I know plenty of people who do. And it really would have affected them had they read it. So, and I was even thrown off just seeing it and then seeing it mentioned again. And it kept coming back. And I was like, okay, it wouldn't have taken anything. Again, I know people make fun of it, but they're there for a reason. People talk about them for a reason. Just put one real quick at the beginning. It wouldn't have taken anything for them. And it would have helped a lot of people. So that really bothered me.
So
I don't disagree, because a friend of mine, we were talking about it right after. I was like, you've got to read this book. And, they had some experiences in their life that were kind of mirrored in this book. And luckily they're at a good point where they're like, no, this is something I like to see face on and go through. But it hit them like a ton of bricks when they were reading it too. So I super don't disagree with you, because normally a lot of comic books don't go this heavy.
Right.
And this went very heavy.
Wow, like I'm seeing more than I usually do, and I don't like it, and I know a lot of people would be very affected by it, and it makes me upset that you can't just put something real quick like, hey, you could easily get triggered by this. Like, I don't understand that. And I don't get it.
Here's the thing, like, to me being a dum-dum, often that I am, I didn't realize what was going on. I honestly thought he fought someone and he was just beaten up by a villain. Like, my mind didn't even.
But he came back and you understood it, right? Like,
right. But the thing is, like, that's when. So I actually had to go back. I'm like, oh, that's what was going on. But I honestly thought, because the thing is, like, that thought didn't even cross my mind. I thought that, oh, he was beaten up, like, because that's something that happens with superheroes, right? Like, it was beaten up, and he was like, that's what caused him to go to the hospital. It didn't even cross my mind. It didn't even cross my mind until Barda talks about it at the very end. So I didn't even...
so good. Oh, sorry. We didn't say spoilers about anything. Hey guys, we're gonna try to. I'm gonna try to talk about everything very lightly, but there's potential there could be some spoilers in some way. Everyone at home. So if you haven't read Mr. Miracle yet, you don't want anything to be spoiled, let us know. I will do my best to talk about it on like a.
I'm being vague level with this too. Like, I don't need to go into details about it anyway. I don't really want to.
I think everybody is, but just in case anything slips, I just want everybody at home to know.
So, and I actually want to know if the trigger warning was there for the first issue, when it was an issue by issue.
You mean before it was in a trade?
Yeah.
Well, why would they do that and not put it in the trade?
Because they're dumb. Like, I don't know.
That would be weird if they didn't bring that over.
Issues have, like, I mean, I don't know whether the cover had it. The cover had something that says that.
Like a rating or something.
Yeah. So, because there's already a rating. This is already rated for, like, it's rated R in comic book world.
Yeah, but things can be rated R and not, like...
I know.
Show what was shown.
Okay. So then...
I think that's a good idea to start bringing up, too. Like... I wonder if DC might start to go that kind of route. I mean, it'd be a good idea for them to, now that they're starting to do this whole Black Label, DC Black Label with things.
Darker content.
Yeah, because it's not like, there's stories now that are out that, like, people just know about from being in comics and kind of know, like, okay, I know what I'm getting into before I get to this. But with new comics, that's not the case. Like, with, oh gosh.
The other one.
That story... I always think about the one with Barbara, with everything going on with her, her and the Joker.
Killing Joke.
Like, that's another story that could be used to.
Killing Joke, and then also the Identity Crisis. They also need to put a trigger warning there too, like, because that one literally have straight up rape in it.
Yeah.
But so that needs to. But yeah, that's a good point. Okay, beyond that, Kristan, what's your thought?
Well, I kind of just jotted down some notes that I want to talk about. My next thing, that was my very serious first thing. My next thing is they mentioned having cats, but we never see the cats.
Oh, what? You know what?
I'm so mad about it. They mentioned it several times, and I was like, great, we're going to see their kitties. And then we don't see them.
How adorable must Big Barda be with a little tiny cat?
Right?
I don't remember that. But okay.
Yeah, right from the beginning, they're like, oh, we need someone to feed the cats. And he's like, oh, yeah, I got somebody. Great. And then later on, they mentioned the cats again at the end. And I'm like, but show me the cats.
That'll be the main difference once we talk about Captain Marvel with Kristan. She'll be like, listen,
I saw the
Captain Marvel constantly mentions the cats.
Yeah. All right. And then following that, no cats.
My next thing was, I found the paneling very interesting. Because it's all just 9 panel pages, all of it.
Right. So that's
go
first. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I know he talked about it.
That was a Mitch Gerard specialty. He does that in all of.
Oh, like everything?
Yeah, I think Sheriff of Babylon also has it.
You're right. I never even thought about it while I was reading it. I'm looking at it now. I'm like, oh, you're right.
I kept thinking about it because I was like, oh, this is interesting. No one does this.
So this is a mixture. So he does it in the Sheriff of the Babylon. He did it in Omega Man. That's also another collaboration between the two. Yeah, so that's his thing. He does this, and I think Vision. No, he didn't do Vision. He didn't do Vision. But anyway, that's his. It's his specialty.
Okay, my other thoughts were, I do like his art. I think it's very unique. I think it fit well with the story because it was so out there and crazy. Mm-hmm. This is also my first introduction to all of these characters. I gotta say, halfway through, I didn't really care about them. I was waiting to care more, and then a baby arrived. Spoilers! And then I cared more, and I was like, oh, I'm more interested. I still will say, I didn't care about the war. I didn't care about the war the whole time.
I don't think that was the focus either.
Yeah,
it kept happening. Like, throughout the whole thing, I was like, oh, yeah, I was like, throughout the whole thing, I'm like, I just care about their personal life way more than this war. Like, I didn't care at all about.
But I think, isn't that like more of an allegory of trying to have a family while you have work? Like, you know, work.
Sure, but I found the war and the gods to be not interesting to me. Like,
I think that's fair.
You know, maybe I'm just not. I was like, oh, I'd rather talk about you and your baby. Like, you know, and their banter during fighting, that was fun and cute. I liked that.
So cute.
You know, that was fun.
They're adorable.
But I was still like, don't care about the war.
They're such a good couple. They're like, they're so good.
So I like the second half way more. The thing about the mental health issues. This is something I'd be curious what you guys think. So I feel like they clearly showed him having some sort of mental health issues and problems, but it was never really talked about. So I kept thinking, is this helpful to the conversation if we never actually talk about it? He tried to say, especially during the beginning,
to
her, he was like, something is wrong with me. I don't know what's happening. Something's wrong with me. And she was just kind of like, I get it, but we got to war to fight. Like, we got to do this.
I wonder if it's something that's going to come up later, because I don't feel like there was a clear answer at the end of this book. Do you know what I mean?
There's no diagnosis.
What's going on? I can't tell if it's a mental illness or if there's something else happening.
Right. And that's another thing that confused me. You know, I told you guys before, and I was like, I was kind of confused the whole time. And you guys are like, you shouldn't be, you're dumb. And I was like,
no.
You know, I was like, am I dumb?
No, that's what we said, Maddie. Don't walk away from that. That's exactly what we said.
But that was the thing. I was like,
this is going to feed into something else, because there's a new thing coming out by DC. Like, it's like Deceased or something. And when Tom King and Mitch Gerard's, I don't know how you say his name, Mitch, call him Mitch, Tom and Mitch, they were posting on Twitter, and they kept doing that thing like Dark Side is.
Right.
The same thing that kept happening in this book, but was never resolved, right? They were tweeting a thing that's like Dark Side is, and then like Deceased. So I'm wondering if this, whatever's going on with him, is going to be more like some more light is going to be shed on that later.
Yeah, so I don't know. I was kind of like, is this like he's either hallucinating because he can only see these things, right? Mm-hmm. And if he is, okay, does he have schizophrenia? Like, why aren't we talking about this? Or am I supposed to know what's happening? So that's the part where I was confused consistently the whole time, because I'm like, well, and if we're gonna, you know, all these articles are like, Mr. Miracle's so good at mental health issues. And I'm like, okay, if we're gonna show these things and not talk about them, is that really helping the conversation? Like,
yeah,
you know, like.
So let me bring my perspective to it. So the thing is, like, I come from a culture where mental illness is not a thing. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. You don't have mental problem. You cannot have mental problem. There are close people in my family who have a lot of problems. You know, I'm not going to name names, but, you know, and that is exactly how we behave. Like, the fact that you're saying that there's something wrong with me, and then it's like, no, there isn't. You need to do this. Like, get over it. We need to do this. It was such a vivid, like, it was like I was reading I had conversations like this. And I was on both sides of it. Like, that was literally on both sides of this.
Do you feel like his wife was saying that? Like, she kind of pushed him aside, and at that point, it's like, oh, is that a good relationship? Like,
no. But the thing is, here's the thing, though. They both gone through the same thing, but they came out of it different. Like, they both gone through the exact same treatment, but she was the one who was like, I got over it.
She dealt with it a different way too, because they kind of touched on it, but they didn't go in depth. Because she talked about, like, yeah, we went through this, and this is how I cope now, too. Because she talked about, like, spending a lot of time, spending money on things to fill up the space of things that she didn't have. Like, I do think that they didn't do much discussion of what was going on, but I don't doubt that, like, some of the portrayal wasn't. I think some of the portrayal felt very true. I think Barda's reaction to having a husband who was going through those issues was a very very real life reaction, because it's a mix of, like, not understanding, a mix of blame, and also her own, like, kind of guilt or carrying all of that, and his brother reacting the way he did to what happened, which was a total lack of understanding, right? Because he kind of like, you did this to yourself, and I'm going to beat you up for it, because he didn't understand either. I don't know. It's a whole mix of things, but yeah, I'm glad that they showed these, but I do agree that there wasn't. I don't know. Like, maybe
there's no, like, resolution about it, and there was no resolution or diagnosis or further talk about it that could have actually, helped the fictional characters. But also, if we're going to show these things, we should probably help try to educate people who are reading it too, right? Like.
Which would be nice. That crisis was like
I personally believe that the Barda's reaction to him was because she was so angry at him for doing the first act that you were talking, the trigger warning thing. I don't think she forgave him for that. So everything of her coming out of that was from anger.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but it's just like all this stuff happened to him, and he kept talking about how something was wrong, but then nothing ever happened with that, right? Like, it didn't.
Yeah,
it would have been nice if, like, at the end she would, like, hey, let's get you some help or something, like.
Yeah,
and
maybe we'll get lucky to have some more of this too.
So there's supposed to be some kind of continuation. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what I'm gathering. And somebody in the chat, maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong. But so throughout this book, there's a whole thing, dark side is. And spoilers, there's not a real resolution to that. And there's also not a real resolution to whatever's going on with Scott-Free. We know he's going through something. We don't know exactly what triggered it. We don't know if it's a mental illness. That's what I'm gathering. Regardless, it's affecting him in a very real, visceral, emotional way. In a real way that signifies a mental illness, regardless of what happened. I think he has one. But it leaves itself open to something else, and that whole Twitter thing seems like something else is going on.
So isn't like dark side is like a way of his mental state? That's when you know that things that are happen after that panel may be true or not.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's like there's like
no idea.
There's a cuts to it. Like, those panel just shows up randomly. And things that happens after those panels are often too ridiculous that you are like, is this happening? Because it kind of often goes to in a very tangent. Then there's also some panels, those are not straight, but those are like lines like this. You don't even know whether that's real. And then also the war, was that war actually happening? Because I don't think he's a reliable narrator.
Well, and even at the end, well, I guess I'm going to spoil part of the end, but they were like, or one of his hallucinations was like, hi, you're dead, like you died earlier, and it's like, oh wait, is he? Like, so that's what I was referencing, my confusion, like what actually happened, guys. Like, I read this and I liked it just fine, but I was mostly like, what really happened?
Yeah, I don't disagree. There's no real, it's like watching I was going to say M. Night Shyamalan, but not M. Night Shyamalan, because you would know what the twist was at the end. But like, it's like watching a psychological thriller where you're like, or like a Black Mirror episode. It's a Black Mirror episode of comics, because you're just like, I don't know exactly what's happening here. But I love shit like that.
But yeah, me too. And the thing is like, so I'm going to plug another podcast called Capes on the Couch. So they actually dissected this book after this. And one of the things about their thing is like they actually they have a real life psychiatrist on the show, on the podcast, and they actually talk about different psychological problems that each of the superheroes go through. So hence Capes on the Couch. And one of the things that they talked about is like, this is clear, someone who has clearly going through PTSD. That's the first, like in everything that he's going through. And they actually say the reasons, like, the different traits of PTSD and what they are and what those things are. And, that's what they're talking about. For me, it's just like a lot of things, like, in terms of mental health issue and stuff like that. I was like, this is exactly how we talk about this. Like, like, and to me, like, it's probably not the right way, but that's exactly what we talk about it. Like, I have been part of that conversation so many times, both sides of that conversation. Like that conversation, my heart was actually beating fast when I was like, there's something wrong with me. I think there's something wrong. And then another person saying, walk it off. Like literally, like, no, we don't have time for this. You cannot be like this. You need to be stronger than this. And I was in both sides of that conversation. So, I don't know. Like,
something we can discuss is, when comics are dealing with things like this, not that they have the responsibility to, but I think they should. Like, what would be a good way for DC to follow up with a story like this in a way that helps educate its readers on like mental illness? You know what I mean? Like in a way that's like, showing how people can get through things, or I don't know the right words for it, I guess, but I don't know if you guys can pick up what I'm putting down.
I would say that they, like, I think Kristan's also is also saying that same thing. Like, I wish there was one issue where he was literally in a psychiatrist's office.
Mm-hmm.
That he's been shown that he's trying to get help, professional help, because that's something that's often missing from that was missing from this. Because I thought that was alluded to later on, that he is getting help, but it wasn't shown explicitly.
Well, and like, I like a good happy ending. But if it could have ended less happy and more, let's tie up some of these loose ends. It's her saying, you know what, I'm supporting you. I want you to go get therapy and go get some help. And then, him talking this out, and maybe we find a diagnosis and we know actually what's happening. Because with superhero stuff, especially with this, which was so out there because of the gods and the worlds and whatever, then maybe I could understand, okay, wait, how much of this was a mental illness? How much of this was dark side or something happening with that? Like, what was it? Like, so I'm still in that place where I'm like, I read this. I liked it just fine. What did I read? I don't really know right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is something that, like, I know we talked about this before Heroes in Crisis came out. We talked about, like, a way that, like, comics would be a great media as, like, a great conduit for people to understand some of these issues, just like any other media. And that's something that I had hoped for with Heroes in Crisis before it came out, because we learned of, like, the sanctuary where all the superheroes go to deal with all their issues. Because naturally, they all must have extreme PTSD with what they're going through. All the stuff they're just naturally. The same way, cops would, or anyone who's in those types of positions. And then that's not what we ended up getting. And I'm still holding out for a comic book story where we really get to the roots of these superheroes' problems and really have them kind of face their fears and weaknesses and the things that they've gone through. And hopefully that's eventually something we get. Hopefully people realize that these stories where we get to see the real raw emotions of superheroes are interesting, and it doesn't make them any less heroic. Because
it makes it more relatable.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying, the second half of this, I liked way more, because we saw more of just them, and then there was the baby, and that made everything real, and, it was less like, hey, gods and stuff.
Do you
like, I want to see more stories with like Superman or somebody, like at home, like, man, I'm just really tired, and they're just wearing like a t-shirt and chilling. He's like, oh gosh, and I gotta go wake up the kid, and we get a little bit of stuff like that, but nothing extensive like this, which is why I was so happy about it. It's like, I'm getting this person's like to the bone. I'm getting what they're dealing with.
So do you think a lot of this, because do you think a lot of this is because the way he has dealt with how Tom King dealt with his thing, and he's just putting that maybe he never actually gone to a therapist. This is how he dealt with it. Because he was actually a CIA operative.
Yeah.
So, and he has seen some shit. I don't know, because I felt like it was weirdly or too much of autobiographical. And do you think, like, because he dealt with it this way, this is the story he's saying?
I mean, who knows?
Not saying it's right or wrong, you know, because that's how he dealt with it. So that's the only way he knows how.
I still think even if that's the case, it's lacking as a story. Because we didn't get these things that are kind of pivotal. Like, we don't really know what was real and what wasn't. And I understand some of that is part of the story. But at the same time, I want to know what happened in what I read. Like, I want to actually understand it.
So what do you think is real?
I don't know. I assumed he was hallucinating the whole time. But at the same time, was he an agent of Darkseid? Like, every time Darkseid is popped up, it's like, wait, is that in his head? But that's what I kept thinking.
But don't you think? Don't you think like it's like a story? Like a lot of stories are like that. So it's like it's up to the reader. Like for me, I took it as like Darkseid wasn't an agent of Darkseid, or the war actually was not happening at all. That the whole every time they were in the war, it was something they may have been doing something mundane, but in his head, it felt like he was in the war. That's what I thought, because everything else was so mundane. Like, that's how I interpreted it. Maddie, what's your interpretation?
I have no idea. Honestly, like, part of the narrative that came out at the end where he's like in a purgatory thing and he's just made it this makes more sense than some of the other alternatives. You know, where he's like, he's in heaven or hell and he's just kind of like made it this way. And like, maybe his hallucinations are just himself being like, hey, you know, you need to get out of here, right? Because there's a whole other world you have to be with. Because like they show that panel with all the superheroes. And he basically kind of is like, I don't want to be in that world. I want to be in this one where I have, you know, I have this life with my wife and my kids. That may not be real. But
see, that's the thing. That's the part that could have not been real. We don't really know.
True. I don't know. But I love stories like this, though. I like when I don't know. But I do hope I get answered eventually.
Yeah, I want to know. I'm like, I want answers. I just spent all this time reading 300 of the pages. I want to know what's happening.
Right. So does this interest you guys to go back and read other New God stuff?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not at all.
That's fair.
I read stuff of his real life.
Say that again?
Sorry, I interrupted Kristan. Kristan, you go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying I would read more of his real life. That was the most interesting part to me. Versus, again, all this God stuff. I was like, I don't care.
Yeah, that's something I do worry about. I worry that like I'll go to get into the rest of the stories. I'm not going to get that same feeling. I'm a little nervous about it because there is a new series about like the female Furies. And it's like before Barda gets with Mr. Miracle, and I'm a little nervous because part of what was so good with them in the story is just their home life and how they just kind of chill and react with one another. And I'll be a little bummed if it's just superheroing.
So
if I just get there.
Is that during her time? Like, is that a prequel to this, or that's a sequel to this?
Technically, it's a prequel. It happens before, but I don't know if it's in the same continuity or not. But it's coming out now. It just started, and it's before she's with Scott, and she's still with the Furies. So like, Granny Goodness is there, and she's with the rest of the Furies that show up in the book.
Right. But the thing is, like, she that's apparently supposed to be very feminist. So I'm really looking forward to reading that.
I'm gonna read it because Big Barda, I'm in love. And the story, I'm in love with her.
One thing I can tell you though, I took one for the team and attempted to read like, a couple of issues of the Fourth World, the big omnibus. I don't have the omnibus, but I was just kind of picking a couple of them up from that. God.
That's old though, right? Am I wrong? Isn't that kind of
Jack Kirby stuff?
I mean, credit where it's due to Jack Kirby. Good for you guys. Like, no, that's not happening. I ain't reading it.
Well, I mean, that's just too old of a. I think it's just too old of a style. Like, sorry to everybody at home, but
yeah, and
there's
like if you
recall at a certain point,
right?
I think a good story is a good story. I don't think the time period matters, but some of it is like, oh, I'm, sloshing through this, but I don't know that that's necessarily something you can write.
It's the way you tell the story actually does matter, though. I think because I cannot read any of the classics English. I can't. Like, I'll follow.
Well, and I think that varies too, though, because there's a lot of good stuff in that. Not all of it's good. Some of it's more like ugh than other stuff. Some of it's more like Dickens, what are you doing? Than other stuff.
That's true. I can read, like, for example, I love Jane Eyre.
Yeah. Oh, I love Jane Eyre. It's one of my favorite books.
So, but anyway, the thing is, though, if you want to know a tidbit, Fourth World actually supposed to be in Marvel. Jack Kirby first, proposed it to Marvel that he wanted to create this world and everything, but Stan Lee said no, and he huffed and puffed and went to DC with it, and then he created Funky, who was a character in the, who was also a character in Mr. Miracle, but in the original one, he was supposed to be a caricature of Stan Lee to the point where it was pretty insulting. So Tom King kind of took that, gave him a little bit more humanity, and a couple of the issues I think came out after Stan Lee passed away. So it was a lot of like homage to him as well in that way.
Yeah, the whole time I was so confused. I told you guys this before the chat. I was like, wait, that was Stan Lee, right? I don't understand why.
Right. Yeah, because of that. So that is like the whole backstory to that. So, I mean, when you know all of this, I only found out about this because I was listening to the podcast. And then I kind of made sure I verified it myself and I Googled it. And then there was like 3 other places also said the same thing. So I'm like, it must be true. 4 people in the internet said that. So there you go. So, all right. So, Mr. Miracle, Kristan, what's your final thought? Yes, no, thumbs up, thumbs down.
I think I'm in the middle here. Like, I liked it enough. I like the art a lot. I think it's very unique. I think it fit the story well. There were interesting points. If there is some sort of continuation, I will read it because I want to know answers.
Mm-hmm.
But as a standalone, I'm just kind of in the middle there.
Okay.
I liked it. It's fine.
Maddie, what's your thought?
I loved every second. I want to read it again. I'm a 10 out of 10. It got me.
Okay. So I'm actually going with Maddie on this one. It also got me. In terms of like the art, we all 3 of us agree the art is just phenomenal. There is way too many, and I really love that every time he was wearing a shirt, it had a superhero logo, different superhero logo. So and then art-wise, it's phenomenal. Story-wise, a lot of it kind of talked to me. As I said before, there's a lot of conversation that was very real life to me that I've had in terms of the Barda and Mr. Miracle's Cospray's relationship. I feel like that's kind of # relationship goal. If I ever get in I would be big Barda. Like, she talked to me, spoke to me. Like, I feel like that I understood her. I understood her every second. So yeah, so for me also 10 out of 10.
Also, real quick before we switch over to Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel, sorry, can we just talk about? I really appreciate the way that Mitch drew Barda, because anyone could have written this book and made her really pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And there's times where like she just looks so real to me, like, and not very pretty, just rough around the edges. She's got a normal face, and when she moves her face like this, there's this. It makes sense. She has a normal, real body. And thank you, Mitch. That's great.
And then she's also very she's still kind of self-aware of this. Like, she's like, I'm too tall. But Granny Goodness is a terrible, terrible character. But one thing about her, I would say, like, everything is too something these days. Like,
yeah, that was her one good line. Yeah,
that was her one good line.
Ever said.
And here's the thing, though. My grandma is nothing like Granny Goodness. My grandma told me the exact same thing.
And also,
everything is too something these days.
Look at this cover of them. This is so cute.
Really cute.
Okay, now I'm done. We can talk about other things.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Mr. Miracle. Go read it and tell us what you think about it. All right. Moving on. After some confusion. Because this is where, we all, like, people always talk about it. Marvel, readjusting their numbering system all the time. There was some confusion between which number ones we have read. But it's actually finally, we just decided is this one. Kelly Sue DeConnick's Captain Marvel, which came out in 2014. So I have the thick trade that has like the issue 1 to 11. And Kristan, you had the 2 other trade paperbacks, I think.
Yes,
Yep. Let's bring that up. Yep, those 2. So in honor of the movie coming out this week, we read this. What's our thought? Kristan, let's start with you.
I think I was kind of in the middle here too. I enjoyed it just fine. I thought it was fun for what it was. I'm trying to find some images that you guys probably know I want to show you. Let's just talk about this cover. There are a lot of cats in this one. See, in Mr. Miracle, they didn't show those cats, but they show them here. So I was happy about it. The cats that aren't really cats. What were they called?
Flarkin.
There we go. And then they, procreated at one point and there were 1 million cats and I was all about it.
And someone actually spoiled it in Twitter that the cat, Goose the cat, is also a Flarkin, which I wish they didn't do, but that's okay. So,
but yeah, the cats were great. I don't know. I thought it was just a fun story. Like, I don't like we were talking about beforehand. I can't tell you much about it other than there were a lot of alien cat things. Because I read it and I liked it for what it was, and then I was done. It's one of those.
The same.
So, what's your thought, Maddie? The same.
Ditto.
What Kristan said.
Yeah. So, like, I had fun. She's fun. I enjoyed the characters in it. I love cosmic Marvel, so I'm always really happy to be in space in the Marvelverse. Her cat is great. Obviously, just fantastic. Mm-hmm. I liked her little romance with Rhodey. I thought it was pretty real, and it made sense for them, and that was pretty cool. It didn't. So I enjoyed it. I think it was just fine. Mm-hmm. That's my review. It's just fine. It didn't connect with me as much as so many of the female-led Marvel series do, because. And she has a lot to go up against because Marvel knows how to write women. Mm-hmm. We did got some kick-ass writers on there, and it didn't stay with me the same way that like Mockingbird or She-Hulk or Wasp or Squirrel Girl or Miss Marvel did.
Right.
But I thought it was good, and I read this one, and I also read that earlier run too. At least like a volume of it because I read what was on Comixology.
Okay.
It was good. Art was good. That's it. That's what I've got.
So I've been on a Miss Marvel, like Captain Marvel readathon. I honestly think that the way they're putting out Captain Marvel, I think the reaction that 2 of you have is perfect if you haven't read any of her previous things. Like, if you read, like, especially Brian Reed's run and Kelly Sue DeConnick's previous number 1s and then all the way through and then read this, I think there is a progression of her character which is perfect. Like, and you actually get like the feeling that you were talking about reading other ones, other characters which were kind of like, relatively newer, like, they were done well in the runs that you were talking about. You get that, but for her, you have to read all the previous things that came, like, in order to see what she was going through. Like, in the Brian Reed's run that she, that went for 50 issues, in it was all about, I want to be the best of the best. You know, that's her whole thing. I want to be best of the best. And she was doing all kinds of, like, she was doing things like everyone's like, you need to calm down, like, you know, but she wanted to be best of the best. And then the lesson of that was, I don't need to be the best of the best. I want to be the best of the best I can be. And in that run, there was also this thing about how much her father, like, you know, her dad wouldn't pay for her to go to university because women don't need to go to university, but he would pay for her brothers. And there was that whole thing that you realize that, okay, where's the motivation coming from? In the Kelly Sue DeConnick's first run, that's when she first became Captain Marvel. After Captain America actually tells her, why not? Why not take up the mantle? Even though she wasn't like, and then he was actually kind of goaded her.
I read that bit.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, well, you need to take on that. And that's when I think she gets into a little bit of surer foot. And then by the time she comes here, you're like, oh, yay, look at that. Like, you know, she's having fun. She's making choices. She's doing things. Like, for example, like, you know, I saw the progression of her. Like, it wasn't, you know, and I don't know whether that's why, like, a lot of people have the same feeling about her, because you really need to kind of know. And I don't know, I for a lot of reason, I get her. Like, you know, I was like, if I meet up with Carol Danvers in whatever, I'm like, I got you. Like, you know, I feel like I'll tell her, you know, I understand some of her motivations and stuff like that, especially being from that hot-headed to having been coming down a little bit. I feel like a lot of that I have gone through myself, and because, you know, I'm Captain Marvel, you guys, whatever.
I thought I recognized you.
I know, right? I'm definitely old lady Khan, but that's a different topic for another day. But the thing is, like, and I feel like, you know, there's a lot of that I kind of connected to. And if I had read this before reading anything else, I think I would have the same reaction. Like, I completely understand where you guys are. Like, we're like, you know, if someone said that, oh, this is how I felt, I'm like, yeah. My first question would be, is this the first Captain Marvel you read? And I'll be like, I get that. Like, you know, so I don't know. Like, you know, I would recommend going back to like Brian Reed's run and then continuing on and coming back to this. And then apparently after this, she just went off the rail again. So, like, so, Maddie, we can't hear you.
Oh. Were you supposed to get a new microphone, Maddie?
You know, I say that every time.
Yeah.
I never will. Okay, but yeah, so what I was saying was that that's nice to hear, because, like, I want to get into her.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always hard when you're jumping into a new character and you don't know where to start or what to read.
Right.
And yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. I think I'm going to go ahead and read. Looks like they've got the first 4 volumes of Miss Marvel on Comixology for free. So I think I'll try to read through those before the movie, just because I kind of want to get an idea before I get in there.
Right. And I think she's also one of the characters that's been around for a very long time, compared to other, like, I don't know. I feel like, you know, if you kind of jump into Captain America in like Coates' run, I think it's going to be very weird, because he's a different Captain America than it was in like Brubaker's run, or in like you need to know all the progression because the character has been around so long. I think like same goes with Captain Marvel as well, like Carol Danvers as well. That she's been around so long, and there's so much that has happened to her. And that's also one of the dumb things that, like, well, I don't know whether it's dumb or not, but Marvel they're painting themselves to a corner with this. Like, everything that happens to the character happened to the character. Like, it becomes canon. It's all in continuity and stuff like that. So it makes,
I guess that's the difference, right? Because, like, DC is rebooted so often that it's kind of easier to jump into some of these characters, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. But, like, if I want to get into Batgirl, I know I can just start with B-52 or Rebirth. I'm fine.
Right.
It's still going to feel fresh. I don't need that much information first. And with a lot of new Marvel characters, it's still fine. But Marvel's been pretty much continuous, right? Like, as far as to that, I don't know. I'll be interested to see how they continue.
Right. Like, I think Punisher is now, he's still a Vietnam vet, But at a certain point, you need to move on from that, because Vietnam War would be 100 years. Like, you know, there would be a problem. Like, at what point Magneto stopped becoming relevant? Because, I mean, you know, he's a Holocaust survivor. But at one point, you say that, okay, we need to move to the next thing, you know? Like, same goes with Captain America. Like, you know, how do you deal with that? Because they embed these characters so much into real events and things, and then it becomes like, okay, how are you gonna... Anyway, I'm excited to see how they do it, though. But it's something that I've always thought about. But anyway, so what's the final verdict on this, then?
It's fine.
It's fine.
I would say definitely don't read this if this is your first time Captain Marvel. Read the Kelly Sue's other volume 1. This is actually volume 3 of the art. Like, you know, this pick. Read the number 1 of this. Pick 1. And even if you really want to deep dive, go back to Brian Reed's run. Start there, but not here. Like, that's not where you start. It's still fun though, but not if you wanna start, like, you know, read Carol Danvers for the first time. So, with that, is there something we want to show off or other things to talk about?
I have a few things, other things I read I'd like to share with you guys.
Definitely.
I'm going to start with The Silence of Our Friends. Have you guys heard about this?
No. I have not, but I saw you rating it, and then I put it on my list.
Good, because I think you'll really like it. It is art by Nate Powell, so it's gorgeous, of course, who did March. And written by Mark Long and Jim Dimonakos. Who knows, guys? But it was really great, and it's based on Mark Long's life in the 1960s, Texas. He's a little white boy. He's a boy in this, and it's really about his dad, who's a reporter for a local TV station, and he has to cover like the black area of town. And so there's all this civil rights movements, and he becomes friends with like a black family, and it is just so good and so real to life because it really happened to him. And so if you liked March, I think you'll really like this. Also, the list price is $10.
Oh, nice.
So
That's nothing.
It's so worth it. Yeah. So this was really, really great. I loved everything about this.
So I actually had a question to you about that, because I'm always a little hesitant about reading, you know, books that has racial topics in it when it's written by a white person. Like, you know, like white savior complex can be a thing. What's your thought on that from that point of view?
Well, Mark, I mean, this really happened to him.
Right.
You know, so, and I didn't feel like it felt very real in how everyone talked, and it was the 1960s. He had a co-author. I don't know if he was also white. I don't know. I didn't look into that. But I think it becomes different when it's like a nonfiction telling of someone's life. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
And none of it felt like, you know, I read Moonshine and I'm like, this feels a little racist. But this did not feel like that. I mean, of course, there were racial problems back then. So, of course, some of it's racist. But he was a kid in it, you know? So, really, I didn't find any of that problematic.
Okay. Because, you know, some of, like, I think, like, what you pointed out, that this is a nonfiction. I think when it's like a nonfiction, it's like a different than versus like a fictionalized, like, oh, in the end, that person who said the N-word to this other person, but they actually sat down together and have a cup of coffee. It's like, screw that.
Yeah, and there is language in this, you know, that we will be uncomfortable with. I am a white person who read this, so like maybe I'm not one to talk, but it really did feel like his story from when he was a kid, because that's what it is. I mean, and there's a lot of, you know, background. Just the blurb on the back is really great, and there's a big old thing in the beginning from John Jennings, and that's really great. You know, so it felt very historical and interesting. And again, if you liked March, I feel like this is just right up your alley, not only because Nate Powell, but just the content.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. I will look into that. All right. What else?
So continuing PTSD talk, I showed you guys this when it was about to come out. It's called PTSD by Guys, I don't even know how to start. I really just don't. I'm sorry.
Guillaume.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah, Guillaume singular.
Yeah.
Okay,
French, I think.
Great, you guys got it. You nailed it. But it just came out from First Second. I got it from the library. I love this cover. Like it's like a PTSD, and then I don't know. It's neat.
Yeah.
But this was set in like a futuristic, you know, maybe like a futuristic kind of Tokyo kind of, like it's a different. It's a different. And it's about this veteran, and there's a big war, and she lost an eye. She lost a lot. She's dealing with PTSD, and I love the art. And it's just about her story. Like, I have to say, I liked it. I thought it was good. It wasn't amazing, but I think it's worth a read because it really does.
Star in Goodreads.
Yeah.
I'm like, Kristan didn't like it.
That means I liked it, but it wasn't amazing to me.
Right.
I know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. But hang on. So the thing is, like, good one topic though. How do you think, like, well, given that the top, like, it says PTSD, how did this handle mental health issue compared to Mr. Miracle?
Well, we actually know what she's going through, for one.
Okay.
Because
it's in the title? Or
yeah. They didn't hide it. When she does have flashbacks of the war during her life and things that happen. She's living on the street. She's addicted to pills. Like, there's a lot of intense mental health issues that are happening. I think that was very real. And maybe that's part of my not thinking it's the most amazing thing, because it just kind of hurt. I was like, oh, I can't think you're amazing if you just hurt me, right? Whatever. But it was good. I don't have any personal experience with that, so I can't really say how accurate it was, but it felt like I felt for her the entire time in her situation, and I really liked it. So
I am going to add it to the list.
And the other thing that Fariha asked to see the art from, but I also did read Scurry, Volume 1 and 2 by Max Smith. This was my pick of the week. If you guys follow our Instagram, which you should, at Fangirlz Assemble. This is all, like, you can read it online right now. It is a webcomic for free online. You can check it out. But the art is 100% just maybe the best part of the whole thing. It is gorgeous. I don't know how he does it. I feel like it would take a gazillion years.
Oh my god.
It's gorgeous.
That's like photorealistic.
Yes. And it is. The whole time I'm like, what am I looking at? Like, it took me probably longer to read than it should have, because I was just staring at this gorgeous, gorgeous art. It actually gets better in the second volume too. Like, he got even better somehow. Like, look at this moose. What are we doing with our lives? Like, how can people do this?
Whoa.
It's amazing. And I really love the story. It's basically like all the human race died out or something happened to them. And these little mice who have lived in the house with like all these humans and would come in from the fields and get scraps are like, hey, where's our food? Like, we were depending on the humans to live and survive. So now they got to figure out.
So what happened to the humans? Sorry.
We don't know yet.
Oh.
It's been 2 volumes. They're gone. They don't know what happened. So
the rats ate them, but the cats ate them.
Some kind of apocalyptic thing happened. So one of the mice, like, gets taken away by like a hawk at one point. So the other mouse that's like really good friends with her, he follows along and he meets all these like forest animals, and that's why the big moose is there. And people, like, all the animals are making like sanctuaries to try to go scavenge. It's kind of like The Walking. I know a lot of people don't like The Walking Dead, but I love it. So it's kind of like The Walking Dead, but like for mice and animals. And if the human race was dead, but the animals weren't, you know.
Interesting. I like this idea.
Worth it for the art alone. And these are nice, gorgeous, oversized hardcovers.
And you said that it's already free webcomic.
Free webcomic, so check it out. And I think you can get both of these for like $50 on his website. I kickstarted it, so I'm not sure, but
okay.
They're pretty.
Nice. Okay.
But that's what I read.
Maddie, what you got showing off? Show off. Maddie?
Maddie, are you
What?
living?
Sorry.
Are you living?
I'm in the chat. I'm here.
Stop thinking about Scot-Free and Big Barda, and then come back to reality and tell us what one you want to show off.
I didn't buy anything this week. I've been a little slow on that, so Alex Shoney I bought recently was Mr. Miracle, and then I read Captain Marvel, so I'm a little slow in the uptake this recently.
Oh, there's one more thing. I don't mean to stop you there, Maddie, but it sounds
time's up. You
no, darn it. Because I'm actually on a buying ban until like later this month. But I bought this probably like several weeks back, and I never got to show it off. And I feel like Fariha needs to see it. And I know what one thing you may say, but anyway. So this is a Tintin box set.
Oh, nice!
That I found used.
I have that as well.
You have this exact one?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cute. I couldn't handle it. I was like, look at how cute it is.
Yes.
So I know it's 2019 and there are probably racial issues.
So much.
Which I've heard. But I couldn't handle it. I was like, it's so cute and I've never read it. And I know stuff from back then is going to have those problems. So I still want to read it.
So the thing is, like, please read Tintin in the Moon and the Explorer of the Moon. I think there was the two. Those are the two of the best run ever, the best comic ever. So Tintin was the first ever book I read. It's not the first ever comic I read. It's the first ever book I read at the age of 5. And this is a very embarrassing story. And I read it in Bangla. So in Bangla, the Native Americans are called, the direct translation of that was black feet, ugly faces.
Oh, no. Mm.
And I think that's how it is in the English version.
Oh, no.
So, as this is kind of like, a whole thing about the children are shitty people, human beings. I was a child at that time. So one of the things was that, first of all, I was reading it. So the first book that I ever had was Tintin in America. And then I had the other 5 books as well, and all in Bangla. And every day after school, I would come and I would read the book. And then the next day I would come, and instead of starting from where I left off, I would start from page 1 again. Because, I didn't finish it. Mom told me to go do homework. And so my mom got a little concerned because, this book is in tatters. The other ones are fine. What's happening? So my mom is like, are you not retaining the memory? So she thought that I'm definitely not retaining the memory. And I'm like, no, because you tell me to go do homework and I don't get to finish them. And then my mom is like, why aren't you just start from where you left off the day before and then read on? Oh.
That's so cute.
What's a bookmark, Mom?
Oh, thank God. Because if that wasn't the case, I would still be reading Tintin in America. I wouldn't be able to read any of the other books because I wouldn't know how. I would be stuck in that perpetual loop all day. Kids are so dumb.
Love it.
So Tintin not only is my first comic book, it's actually my first ever book, and it taught me how to read. And so the other thing is that black feet, ugly face, that I may have called my sister that.
Oh.
So you talk about kids not absorbing what's happening in the media. Oh no, this kid absorbed it. And the worst part of this, so there is some weird stuff in there. That is uncool.
Yeah. Well, and you gotta take, it's not cool. It's still not cool. But things sucked back then, right? The years matter. It's like, oh yeah, that came out then and you're gonna find horrible things, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, that's what Warner Brothers does, though. Well, talk about DC and Warner Brothers, putting trigger warning. Warner Brothers does that for all their Looney Tunes. And they actually said that, and it's actually a good message that it's of its time, but we feel that if we remove it, we, forget about it. So we don't want to do that. So I think it's a good thing. But eesh. But anyway, so I've been reading a lot of things, and one of the things I've read is Avengers by Jeff Jones, who is mostly does DC, but he done Avengers story. In it, it's one of those things, like very fine stories that, you know, typical Avenger stories. I wish that there was like it was longer because he really knows how to build a world and everything. But obviously he was doing the guest writing, so that's what that. I read Jill Thompson's Wonder Woman. Maddie, I would like to know your opinion.
How do you like it?
I would like to know your opinion on it.
Yeah, it's on my shelf, so I've got some time this week. I'm going to go ahead and read it, I think. And plus, Jill Thompson's going to be at C2E2 also.
Right. Please read it, because I would like to know your opinion on it.
Okay. Okay.
And I read also another book, The Brave and the Bold. Have you read that?
Yes, with Batman and Wonder Woman, or?
Like it?
Huh?
Did you like it?
I didn't that much.
Yeah, okay.
And it was hard to
now we can be friends, because for a while I'm like, oh no.
No.
Yeah, you seem stoked about it.
Yeah, I was really excited about it. And here's the problem with it that day was I had read a bunch of other books before I read that. So I was reading that morning, and I read She-Hulk, and then I read Red Sonja and Conan, which was great. And then I read Conan and Wonder Woman, which was also great. And then I read Brave and the Bold, and I was like, I don't want to read this anymore. Like pretty much immediately, I was like, I just want to skip through all of this until it gets good, and it didn't. And I was like, well, all right.
The thing is, though, it's so pretty.
It's beautiful. Oh,
so
yeah.
So pretty. But
man, I did not care about anything. Like, it's weird. Honestly, I was like, it's beautiful, but it's Batman in that setting doesn't make sense. The story didn't make sense. It was just like, well, I've heard about this in a storybook. I'm Batman. If I use this thing right here that apparently no one else can find, even though it's just on the ground, I can see where the fairies are. And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Not just that. If someone told me that there will be a book featuring Wonder Woman and Batman, and I'm gonna fall asleep twice.
I know.
After having a full 8-hour sleep and a cup of coffee, like I literally was here and I was like, ugh, you guys, like so bad. Oh my god, so bad. I was like, not good, no bueno. But anyway, and then I have read. I have been reading. Comes to your boy, Kristan, Jeff Lemire.
Oh,
his Green Arrow run. I have the cover over there.
Do you like it?
So first of all, don't think it's Jeff Lemire's fault, because this is a New 52, and I think some of the editorial mandate that New 52 had were not good, and some of the decisions that they're making in this, and I'm like, that is not the Green Arrow I know. So if I never read another Green Arrow before, I'd be like, okay, perfect. But unfortunately I did. And this is not it. Like, Green Arrow is supposed to be Daredevil. Like, he's supposed to be street level. He doesn't deal with magic. He doesn't deal with any of the other things. But there's like cults and things that are introduced. And I'm like, huh? Like, but the thing is, though, I wish, and this is also, I'm like, dang it, because I really wish Lemire did this work on Image with a brand new character. If you know what I mean? Like, this would have been such a good, this is, the story, I'm really interested in the story, but this is not the character to do this story with. Like, I wish they either created a brand new character or Lemire did it independently with another. It would have been perfect. So, yeah. But I already showed the 2 Star Wars book I got for $10 each from the LSC, so I'm really excited about that. And this one, sorry.
Yeah,
nice.
So I'm not sure when Beyonce joined, Marvel Universe, but she is now. Now it's going to be forever canon that Beyonce.
I think that's Destiny's Child at the bottom there, right?
Yes. Ooh. No, this is me. That's me.
You could be in Destiny's Child. Come on.
No, if I can't be Beyonce, I don't want to be Beyonce.
Well, that's fair. You don't want to be Kelly or the other one.
No, I don't want to be Kelly or the other one. I want to be Beyonce in Destiny's Child. Or else, no, thank
That's
you.
fair.
I'll be my own fangirl in my Fangirlz Assemble team. Thank you very much. Beyonce. Kelly or the other one.
Kelly or the other one.
But anyway, so this is like a it highlights all the ladies of Marvel with like beautiful, gorgeous art inside and a lot of tidbits and things. And I actually flipped through it yesterday. It was really super fun. This quote this is from the first run of Khaleesi DeConnick's Captain Marvel. This always gets me, so I was very happy to see that over here. So yeah, I like oh, by the way, Kristan, you'd wanna rub your face.
Does it feel nice? Ooh.
You'd wanna rub your face.
Like velvety?
Huh?
Is it like velvety kind of?
Yes,
Ooh,
it is. It's just like Hera County.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that waxy thing. But anyway, so this is like, this is the thing. So yeah, I also got this. So yeah, and that's pretty much it.
Nice.
All right. So next week, it seems like we will all have seen Captain Marvel by Friday, right, Maddie?
Well, Kristan will.
No, Kristan is changed.
Yeah, Maddie, you left to read that.
What?
Yeah. Okay.
I should see it Friday morning sometime.
Yay! We can talk about it.
So
as long as my work doesn't make me stay. Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
what time you're seeing it, Maddie?
Thursday night.
Thursday night? Okay. So we are going to be here on Friday, next Friday at 8 p.m. And we're going to be reviewing Captain Marvel. And it's going to be first, and we're going to have proper spoiler thing. So it's going to be without spoiler first and then with spoiler. We're very excited.
Spoiler right now, I love Goose.
Oh, yeah.
Spoiler
He's
alert.
the number one character of this movie.
Kristan loves Goose. I am still thinking whether I should, I'm still making my mind about Goose.
I don't care if he's bad.
I'm not quite
He's my
sure if
favorite
Goose is gonna come. Well, here's the thing. I'm not quite sure if Goose is gonna come, and in Endgame, the Goose is gonna solve all the problem because we need our heroes that has been here for 10 years to solve the problem.
Look, I'm gonna tell you what.
You guys.
This is gonna be controversial.
You cannot just drop a character on me a month before the movie when we don't get to learn about that character. I'm sorry. Oh my God.
This may break up Destiny's Child, but if Goose comes in for Endgame and kills Captain America, I won't care because I'll be like, Goose is best boy. I'm fine.
You know what? Guess what? I'm the fucking Beyonce of this team.
How dare you? That's fine. I don't want Jason.
Goose would never do that. We love Goose. So,
he would never.
But so we'll be here next Friday, talk about Captain Marvel. And it's going to be awesome. Hopefully. Yeah. It's awesome. I hope
so.
Yeah.
Like,
Goose is in it.
And you know what? It would be a good thing. Like, now that we have read, you guys have read a little bit of Captain Marvel, and I've read a shit ton of Captain Marvel to kind of see how our feelings adjust after the movie.
Yeah.
So, so next Friday, 8:30.
Yeah, sure.
No, it'll have to be 8:30 because by the time I get in and everything. So 8:30 we'll be joining here to talk about Captain Marvel. So where can people go to find all the books that we talked about?
Yep, and also Chris Verde, $2 super chat. He said, "You girls rock. Always support the show. Thank you, Chris. We love you."
Yes,
That's very nice.
Thank you. Oh, okay. All right. So instructrades.com, where you can buy all our collected editions and things like that. And
Dr. Afro will be 50% off on Tuesday.
Right. And you can get for $50 or more, you can get free shipping. However, we are forgetting that we are supposed to be doing a giveaway today. So I don't have the books here with me, but it's actually going to be donated by one of the members of the Omnibus Collectors and Swap Community Group, Chris Hansen. He was gracious enough to give donate to give away all the Uncanny X-Force, the 7 hardcovers. So these are the premium hardcovers that Marvel used to make. They don't do those anymore. So it's not the omnibus, but it still have all the stories on it. So unfortunately, I don't have them with me, but we need to do a giveaway. So how should we do the giveaway?
You didn't have this plan for you?
No, I didn't have this plan. Like, you know, I barely have my life planned, you guys. Like, you know, I didn't have this plan. So what can we do?
Are we doing it live right now?
Yeah, we can do it live right now.
Okay, how about everybody in the chat? Maybe we can pick a number and then...
How many people are in the chat?
I don't know.
Oh, 20 people.
I don't have that up.
Like, you know, there's 20 people there. Yeah, so pick a number.
Yeah.
And what do you do with the number?
You get whoever's closest.
Yeah, like 1 to something.
1 to 56. 1 to 56. Anything between 1 and 56.
1 to 56, and whoever picks the highest?
No.
Then?
Hey,
just pick 56.
Priya, I need you to pick a number between 1 through 56. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah, think right in your head.
In here.
Okay.
Now, everyone in the chat, pick a number between 1 and 56.
Okay, let me write this number down so that people.
That's a good idea.
I changed the number. Hang on, everyone, pick a number. Yeah,
Why don't you put it in our group message?
Ooh,
so,
okay.
So we all know you're not lying.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah.
Let me keeping you honest. Where's the group message, you guys? Oh, okay.
Girl.
Girl.
Guys, what's up?
Girl, we got a plan.
Okay. I'm okay, guys. I'm okay. I think it was that, you know, that Liam Sharp story really took, like, dumb me down. Brave and the Bold.
I like how Gabe did listen to the rules.
Huh?
Gabe nailed it.
All right.
Now the question is, when are we cutting this off?
Never.
How about...
It's probably now. Now's good.
No, hang on. Let's go. Let go. Okay, one more.
One more minute.
Person. One more person.
Okay.
So, are we going the closest highest or the closest lowest?
Closest.
Guys, there's already 2 people who picked closest on both directions.
Yeah, you're right. What does Price is Right do? Is that closest lower?
Sure.
Or higher? Or maybe it's higher. You know what?
Too close.
Hold on, I'm gonna text you guys something. Hold on.
Text.
Oh my god.
We should plan this better. We should plan this better.
I like that idea.
Yeah. Okay. So who was that? So what are we doing?
Freddie's saying Price is Right does lower. Well, we're not Price is Right. Let's just do higher. How about that?
All right.
Let's just do higher. So the number I picked was 19. So based on that, who got the higher one?
Oh, the higher.
The closest higher.
The closest higher. Okay.
You know, closest either way, I think it's 17, isn't it? Because that's...
Yeah. Closest either way is Freddie.
Yeah.
Is it closest either way? Closest higher? Or closest...
Well, that's the closest one. If there was like a 21, then we'd have to
there is a 21.
There is a 21.
Yeah.
There's not.
Harry had 21.
Okay, so you are the winner, Harry. It's closest 21. So if you want to...
Oh, yeah. Harry wins.
Yeah, so I picked 19. So you're the winner. So I will just send me your well, I actually do have his address because I sold him some stuff. He's also a good friend. So anyway, so he will just send me your address and I will pass it on to Chris. So then Chris can send it to you. So wait, hang on. No, he can't get to have it because he has Uncanny X-Force, the omnibus. He doesn't get to. He's disqualified.
He does.
Wait. Well, the other one was Freddie, right?
Yeah, Freddie.
Well, so that's actually Price is Right rules anyway, and apparently people are saying that. So Freddie.
Okay, so in that case,
Freddie.
Yeah, so Freddie. Hang on, but Freddie, are you in United States? That's also another thing.
True. Contest is rigged.
You should have mentioned that at the beginning. It does make sense.
Like, oh yeah, that's also another thing. Are you in United States? Freddie? Yes? No?
There's a delay. Give him a chance.
Oh, that's true. There is.
You're like, come on, Freddie.
Oh my God, we need to plan. I should have planned this better, you guys. Okay. All right.
We're a mess. Okay. Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so can you medium roll there?
I think so. You want to Google it? Freddie feels pressure.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm answering that, can you medium mail there? Please, someone let us know.
Drewby says this is worse than C5 v. Crowny. Wrong, Miss America. You're right, Drew.
Wow,
that is true. It's because that's Harry's fault. He showed you all his collection and stuff, and he was actually bragging about having the Uncanny X-Force Omnibus. So, dude, what the hell? Like, like, what do you want? Why are you in this? So can you? I am still.
Maddie Elliott's funny.
Okay.
He's a sweet boy.
I'm kidding, by the way. You're so awesome.
It was Moonlight. Well, I love it because Elliot's right here with me, so it would have been really funny if he'd won, and I kind of wish that he did, but I didn't cheat. I wanted to.
Oh, okay. No, I was just saying that, if you can do media mail to Puerto Rican address, I think you can. That's what.
Well, we can check later. Yeah, Freddie, if you just want to send us your address through, Instagram or whatever.
Yeah. So send us that, and then we will get that on your way. All right. Next time when we do a giveaway, I'll have better plan. And
yay, Freddie.
We're supposed to be doing it. We were supposed to be doing it last week, but then we forgot. But we're doing it this week. So, anyway, all right. So finish us off. What's the pick of the week, everyone?
Mr. Miracle, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go with Scary.
Hooray! I will go with. I haven't read this yet, but it actually spoke to me because Days of Hate. I haven't read this yet, but it looks like very interesting. So it's obviously an image. So either there's a war or post-apocalyptic or something going on. But I'll let you guys know. But yeah, this is something that I just got here. So anyway, all right. So with that out of the way, we will chat with you next Friday. Go see Captain Marvel or whenever. And then if you haven't seen Captain Marvel, come back and check out the Friday's episode once you have done. All right. Okay. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.